Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down chapter 136, titled A Doctorless Country.
And what a title it is. It's a phrase that sounds impossible, almost like a paradox. A country is a living thing, a collection of people. How can it survive without the means to heal itself? This chapter answers that question in the most chilling way possible.
We absolutely do, and it is so much darker than I was expecting. I mean, we've been on this island for a few chapters now, and we knew something was wrong. Kureha charging 1,000,000 berries, Nami getting sicker and sicker, but I thought it was just a harsh environment. I never thought the sickness was the king himself. This chapter proves that true evil isn't just about punching hard. It's about taking away hope. If you believe in Oda's long-form storytelling as much as we do, and you want to follow every single thread he's weaving through this grand tapestry, make sure you're following our show. You won't want to miss a single connection.
We start this week right back in the town of Bighorn, where Wapol is making his grand, unwelcome return.
Grand is one word for it. Unbelievably pathetic is another. He's standing there on his weird hippo mount, a hippo that walks on its hind legs. It's so bizarre. And he's just demanding the villagers accept him as king again. The sheer, unadulterated nerve of this guy after he ran away from Blackbeard and left them all to fend for themselves.
There's a specific kind of arrogance that comes from someone who has never been told no in their entire life. He doesn't see his return as something he needs to earn. In his mind, the throne is his birthright, and the people are merely part of the scenery. Their suffering is an inconvenience, not a tragedy.
Exactly. And his men tell him the Straw Hats are on the island, the ones who knocked him into the ocean, and all he can think about is revenge. Not, how are my people doing? Not, what happened after I left? Just, someone dented my pride, and I must make them pay. His entire worldview is the size of his own ego.
It's a stark contrast to every leader we've respected so far. Think of Igaram, willing to disguise himself as Vivi and potentially die. Think of Mayor Boodle standing up to Buggy for his town. True leadership is service. For Wapol, leadership is a buffet for his own appetites.
And then he sees it. Drum Castle, his castle, sitting perfectly intact on top of the mountain. And his first thought isn't, oh good, the symbol of my country is safe. It's, I'm taking that back. It's a possession, like a toy someone else is playing with.
His men inform him someone is living there. A witch, they say. Dr. Kureha. They describe her as an ancient monster.
Of course it's Kureha. I laughed so hard at that panel. She saw a perfectly good, totally empty, ridiculously fortified castle and just moved in. You have to respect the hustle. She is the definition of someone who does not care about your claims of ownership. She operates on a higher plane of, I was here, so it's mine now.
It's a perfect reflection of what's happened to the country. The official king abandoned it, so the unofficial, far more capable leader just took his place. Kureha might be eccentric and charge exorbitant fees, but she is providing the single most vital service in the kingdom. She is, in a functional sense, more of a ruler than Wapol ever was. The castle is a microcosm of the entire kingdom.
Wapol decides he's going to go up there, get his revenge on the Straw Hats, and take his castle back from the witch. He thinks it's going to be that easy. He thinks he can just waltz back in and everything will snap back to the way it was. But it isn't, because Dalton arrives. Yes, my man! Dalton comes charging in and he is not messing around. The villagers are all cheering for him. He's their hero. He just barrels right through Wapol's men, straight for the source of the problem. There's no hesitation. This isn't a man weighing his options. This is a man who has been waiting for this exact moment for years.
And he lands a solid hit, a really critical-looking blow that sends Wapol flying. The paneling is fantastic. You feel the impact. For a moment, it looks like it might be over. The righteous hero returns and strikes down the tyrant in one fell swoop. Oda gives us that catharsis.
I was on my feet, man. I was pumping my fist. That's the righteous fury of a man who has watched his country suffer. Dalton has been holding Rat in for a long, long time. He served this guy, he followed his orders, and he watched Wapol systematically poison his own home. That punch wasn't just a punch. It was years of shame and regret and anger all balled up into one super hit.
But Wapol isn't just a coward, he's a prepared coward. He has his own private medical team, the Ishi-20, who immediately rush to his side. His own private army of doctors.
A team of 20 doctors who only work for him, which at first just seems like a typical selfish royal thing. You know, a king having the best of everything. I was just thinking, okay, so he's a jerk who hoards resources. We get it. But then Oda drops the real bomb, the actual reason for the chapter's title.
Dalton explains it, and the mood shifts from a simple rebellion to something far more sinister. It's not just that Wapol has his own doctors, it's that he systematically got rid of every other doctor in the entire country.
He exiled them. He ran out every single medical professional, leaving only his personal 20 just so he could control the health of his people. He made life and death a privilege that only he could grant. If you wanted to live, if you wanted your child to live, you had to beg him.
That's the real reason the country is dying. It wasn't a plague, it wasn't a natural disaster. It was a conscious act of political terrorism. He weaponized medicine. He turned healing, the most fundamental act of compassion, into a leash to keep his citizens compliant. It's a level of calculated cruelty we haven't encountered before.
That is it's a level of evil we haven't really seen yet. Buggy was a clown, Kuro was a schemer, Krieg was a brute, Arlong was a hateful tyrant born of oppression. This is different. This is a man who had everything and chose to cripple his own people out of pure, pathetic selfishness and a need for control. Arlong wanted to dominate humans because of his own trauma and rage. Wapol dominates his own people because he's a petulant child who can't stand the thought of anyone not needing him.
It recontextualizes everything we've seen on this island. Kureha's exorbitant fees, her isolation on the mountain. She's not just greedy, she's the only game in town, and she's defying a royal decree by even existing. Her high prices could be a way to manage demand, or a test of a patient's will, or simply because she knows her value in a country where her skills are illegal. She is a medical renegade.
And Chopper's dream. We haven't even met him yet, but we know from Kureha that his dream is to be a doctor who can cure any disease. That dream suddenly has a very specific, very tragic origin point. He didn't just grow up in a place where people got sick. He grew up in a place where getting sick was a death sentence, by design.
It also casts Dr. Hiriluk's story in a completely new light. We've only heard bits and pieces, but we know he was considered a quack. Now we can see the full picture. He wasn't just a failed scientist. He was a man practicing medicine in defiance of the law. He was trying to be a doctor in a country where being a doctor was made illegal by the king. His fight wasn't just against disease. It was a political act. It was a fight against a totalitarian regime.
He was a freedom fighter with a chemistry set. It makes his words so much more powerful. When does a man die? It's when he is forgotten. Wapol tried to make everyone forget what it was like to have access to healthcare, to have hope. Hiriluk, by his very existence, was an act of remembering.
And Dalton's rage is completely justified. We see the flashback panels. Wapol laughing as he exiles the doctors. Dalton forced to stand by and watch. He's not just mad that Wapol fled from Blackbeard. He's mad that Wapol was slowly murdering his country long before Blackbeard ever showed up. Blackbeard was an acute threat, but Wapol was the chronic illness.
So Dalton, filled with his righteous fury, goes to attack again, ready to end it. He's not just fighting for himself, he's fighting for every person who died begging for a doctor that Wapol had sent away. But Wapol's men, Chess and Kuro Marimoro, they know him too well. They know his weakness.
His people, his conscience, the very quality that makes him a true leader is the thing they use against him.
They just turn their bows on the innocent villagers who came to support Dalton. Old men, women, the very people he's trying to save. And Dalton, he doesn't even hesitate. He puts himself right in the line of fire. He roars at them to stop.
He takes a volley of arrows directly to the chest to shield them. It's an incredible moment of sacrifice. The paneling is brutal. You see every arrow hit, and the villagers behind him are untouched. He literally becomes a human shield.
He proves in that one single action that he is more of a king than Wapol ever was. A true leader protects his people. He doesn't use them as pawns. Wapol uses people as shields. Dalton becomes one. That's the difference right there. Dalton is the real deal.
This really establishes the central theme of this arc, and it's one that will become incredibly important very soon and throughout the entire series. What makes a true ruler? Is it a crown, a title, a bloodline, or is it the willingness to put your people's lives before your own?
Dalton just answered that question with his own body. Incredible. And while all this is happening, this incredible drama of tyranny and sacrifice, Oda cuts back to Luffy and Sanji. It's such a classic One Piece move.
They are still carrying a very sick Nami being chased up a mountain by a herd of giant, angry rabbits.
The Lapon. And these things are relentless, seriously aggressive. But then they do something weird. They stop chasing and they just start jumping, stomping on the ground over and over in unison.
It almost looks like a ritual or a dance. It's strange, coordinated, and it doesn't seem to make any sense. Why would they stop the pursuit to do this? They seem intelligent, not just like mindless beasts.
Luffy and Sanji are just confused watching them. And then the whole mountain starts to shake. You see the cracks forming in the snow above them. My jaw dropped. They weren't just stomping, they were weaponizing the mountain itself.
They triggered an avalanche. A massive wall of snow is now careening down the mountain, straight towards Luffy and Sanji, but also straight towards Wapol, Dalton, and the entire village of Bighorn below.
Oda just loves to escalate, doesn't he? It wasn't enough to have a medical crisis, a tyrannical king returning, and a wounded hero. Now let's just throw a natural disaster on top of the whole mess. It's like he's shaking the whole snow globe.
It puts everyone on every side of the conflict in the exact same danger. A perfect equalizer. The machinations of a cruel king are rendered meaningless in the face of nature's raw power.
Okay, hold on. Let's go back to Dalton's attack for a second, because something huge was revealed there that we need to talk about. A massive piece of world building was dropped on us in the middle of this fight.
I was waiting for you to bring this up. It's easy to miss in the heat of the moment, but it's fundamentally important.
When Dalton charged, he transformed, right? He didn't just get angry, his body changed. He grew horns, his body bulked up, he got furrier. He looked like a bison-man hybrid. It was awesome.
And the text explicitly names his devil fruit, the Ushi Ushi no Mi model bison, the ox fruit.
But it's the other word they use that's the big deal. The word that changes how we look at every devil fruit from now on.
Zoan.
Zoan. For the first time, we have a classification for this type of devil fruit. For 135 chapters, we've just called them devil fruits. We got a hint of a category with Smoker's Logia type, which seemed to be for elemental powers. I've just been lumping all the others like Luffy's into one big, weird powers category. But now we have a third category stated outright.
Okay, but think about what this means. It implies a structured system, a taxonomy of these incredible powers. Zoan is derived from the Greek word for animal. So this is the classification for any fruit that allows its user to transform into an animal. It's not just a random collection of weird abilities. There's an order to it.
It immediately makes you look back. Were there others we missed? The Nyaban brothers? No, they were just cat-like, but it sets a precedent for the future. We know what to look for now. Oda is giving us a piece of the world's fundamental rule book. It's like we've been playing a game without knowing all the rules, and he just turned over a page in the manual.
He does this so carefully. He lets us see strange powers for over 100 chapters. He lets us wonder and theorize. And then, when it serves the story, in the middle of a dramatic charge, he gives us a name. He gives us a hook to hang our theories on. It's not an exposition dump from a scholar in a library. It's a revelation tied directly to a character's defining moment.
It's just brilliant construction. And it makes Dalton even cooler. He's not just a good guy. He's our first official Zoan user. He's a walking, talking piece of world building. He can turn into a bison. How cool is that?
It also raises the question of what other models of the Ushi Ushi no Mi might exist. The fact that it's specified as model bison implies there could be a model giraffe or a model yak or even mythological versions. The system is potentially vast and more complex than just one fruit per animal.
Oh man, the possibilities are endless. We could see a dog fruit model dachshund, or a cat fruit model leopard. This is blowing my mind. But let's focus on the immediate. Dalton, our first confirmed Zoan, is down, full of arrows. Wapol has his pet doctors, and a wall of snow is about to wipe everyone off the map. Where does this leave our crew?
In a very precarious position. Luffy and Sanji are above the avalanche, but they're with the very creatures that started it. They have to get Nami to a doctor, but the only doctor they know of is in a castle at the very peak of the mountain they're on. Their destination is at the top, but gravity and 1,000,000 tons of snow are pulling them to the bottom.
And that doctor is Dr. Kureha, who is now the target of Wapol, who is at the bottom of the mountain about to be hit by the avalanche. It's a perfect storm of chaos. Everyone wants to get to the castle, and the mountain itself is trying to kill them all.
Every single plot thread on this island, Nami's illness, Wapol's return, Dalton's rebellion, Kureha's isolation, is now on a collision course, and the avalanche is the vehicle.
It's the ultimate catalyst. Oda needed a way to bring the fight to the castle, and he just found the most dramatic way possible. He's literally moving the mountain to force the confrontation. It's genius.
I also wanted to mention the cover story quickly. A little update from the East Boo.
Oh yeah, what was it this week?
It was Django. The interesting detail is a wanted poster for him that's shown. He now has a bounty of 9 million berries.
9 million. Not bad for a hypnotist in a weird suit. That's higher than Alvida's was. It's just a cool little detail, a reminder that the world we left behind is still moving. Actions have consequences. Django was part of Kuro's pirate crew, a crew that tried to destroy a village. The world doesn't forget that.
It reinforces that the world is large and interconnected. Luffy's journey is our focus, but it's not the only story happening. It also makes you wonder how he got that bounty. Did he escape from Captain Morgan's custody? Is he still considered a pirate? These little cover stories add so much texture to the world.
Speaking of consequences, Wapol's actions are coming home to roost. He destroyed his country from the inside out by getting rid of the doctors, and now an external force, this avalanche, threatens to finish the job.
It's almost poetic. His selfish, calculated cruelty, a meticulously crafted system of control, is being met with the random, overwhelming, uncontrollable power of nature. He wanted to be the sole arbiter of life and death, and now the mountain is reminding him that he's just a man.
The thing that gets me about the Ishi 20, it's not just about power, it's about fear. It's so insidious. If the king is the only person who can save your sick child, you will never, ever rebel against him. You will do whatever he says. You will thank him for the scraps of mercy he gives you.
It's the ultimate form of control. He didn't need a powerful army or a secret police force. He just needed a monopoly on hope. By controlling medicine, he controlled the people's future, their ability to even imagine a life free from his influence.
And that's why Luffy is going to hit him so hard. I can feel it coming. Luffy's entire philosophy is about freedom. Freedom to eat, to dream, to go on adventures, to live. Wapol represents the absolute opposite of that. He built a kingdom on the idea that people don't deserve the freedom to be healthy. That is going to tick Luffy off on a fundamental level.
You can see the direct line from Hiriluk's ideology to Luffy's, even though they've never met. Hiriluk believed a country was sick if its people's hearts were sick, if their will was broken. Wapol is the disease. He purposefully broke their spirit for his own gain.
A man is not dead until he is forgotten. Wapol tried to make everyone forget what it was like to have a choice. He tried to kill the country's soul. Hiriluk fought to keep that soul alive with his crazy experiments and his pirate flag.
Which makes Dalton's stand even more significant. He remembers. He was part of the regime, and he carries that guilt. But now he's willing to die to remind everyone else what a true leader looks like, what the kingdom is supposed to be.
He's the spark. He kept the embers of the kingdom's will alive, and now the Straw Hats are here, and they're about to pour gasoline all over it. This is going to be good. I cannot wait to see Wapol get what's coming to him.
The question is who gets to him first, the Avalanche or Luffy?
My money's on Luffy. An avalanche can bury you, but Luffy can punch your entire worldview into a different dimension.
That's a good way of putting it. The physical threat of the snow is temporary and indiscriminate. The ideological threat of Wapol is what truly needs to be defeated for this country to heal.
Absolutely. This whole chapter was just a masterclass in raising the stakes, not just physically, but emotionally and thematically. It gave us a villain more despicable than any before, a hero more noble, and a whole new category of devil fruit. Super. This is what One Piece is all about.
Agreed. It sets a terrifyingly high standard for what a truly evil leader can be in this world. It's not just about strength, but the willingness to corrupt the very systems meant to protect people.
We've talked a lot about the themes in this chapter, and I'm sure everyone listening has their own take. If you have a theory about Wapol, Dalton, or why those Laphand triggered a whole avalanche, drop it in the comments. We read all of them, and we'd love to hear what connections you're making.
Okay, prediction time. What do you think happens in Chapter 137?
All right, prediction 1. The avalanche is a transportation device. It's not going to just wipe out the town. It's going to carry Wapol and his crew kicking and screaming right up to the base of Drum Castle. Oda wouldn't build up this confrontation just to have it end in a pile of snow. The avalanche is going to deliver them to the final boss battle arena.
Forcing the confrontation at the peak, where Kureha and presumably Chopper are. It cleans the board and sets the final stage. I like that.
Prediction 2, Luffy, with Nami on his back and Sanji beside him, is going to somehow ride or outrun the avalanche in a completely ridiculous way. He's going to see that wall of snow not as a threat, but as a challenge or maybe even a tool. I'm thinking he grabs one of the Lapan and uses it as a snowboard, because that is the most absurd and therefore the most Luffy thing to do in this situation. He's not going to be a victim of it, he's going to conquer it.
That feels very Luffy. Okay, my turn. My first prediction is that the avalanche will separate Wapol from the Ishi-20. His greatest weapon, his medical team, will be scattered or lost in the chaos. This will leave him vulnerable and alone when he finally confronts Luffy, stripping him of the very source of his power and control, forcing him to fight on his own for once.
Ooh, I like that. Stripping him of his main advantage right before the final fight. Classic.
My second prediction is that we will see Chopper for the first time properly, not just a silhouette. The commotion of the avalanche will be so immense that it will draw him and Kureha out of the castle to see what's happening. His first real interaction with the Straw Hats will be in a moment of extreme medical crisis, perhaps trying to save the arrow-ridden Dalton, or even being the one to finally treat Nami amidst the snowy chaos at the castle's base.
Yes, the avalanche brings the patient to the doctor. It all clicks. Man, next week can't come soon enough. This is getting so good.
And on Oda's author comment for the week, it provides a nice bit of levity after such an intense chapter.
Oh, this one's great. He just says, I connected the tablet I've been dying for to my Mac. Don't even know how to begin describing how awesome this is. It's ick. You can just feel the pure creative joy coming off the page. He's making this epic, dark story about medical tyranny, and in his free time, he's just as excited as a kid with a new toy. The man loves his job.
You love to see it. It's a nice little reminder of the artist behind the art, finding joy in his tools. It's a moment of light after a very dark chapter. That feels like a good place to leave it for this week.
It sure does. Join us next time as we ride the avalanche into Chapter 137. This has been Inherited Dawn.
Thank you for listening.